Have you been shadow banned by the liberal media? Free market got you down? Do you get ratioed on every Twitter post because of your shit takes on literally everything? Then producer Dave and HK are probably watching your 3-hour dissertation on how a tomato cannot possibly be a fruit because gender and critical race theory can be cured with ivermectin. The Intellectual Dollar Tree, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific. Please leave it a 1-star review on iTunes. Check out the rest of our schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
I'm coming for your wives. I'm coming for your children. I'm coming for your children.
Didn't make it to the vault in a pool of blood from the police assault. No revolution, instead your body beaten blue and red, and a bright white light on the horizon instead. Then the napalm drops and the flames won't stop. The teacher's dead, preacher's dead, soldiers dead, cops. The napalm drops and the flames won't stop. The teacher's dead, preacher's dead, soldiers dead, cops. What you gonna do when no one comes for you? You better make a plan for the wasteland. So what's your plan for the wasteland? No mutants or martyrs, just malnourished kids telling stories about all the fun stuff we did. No gas for the car and no shells for the guns, so sit back, relax, let the cannibals come. You wish they were zombies, but there's breath in their lungs. Breath in their lungs. What you gonna do when no one comes for you? Oh, what you gonna do when the hungry humans come for you? You better make a plan for the wasteland. So what's your plan for the wasteland? What's your plan for the wasteland? So what's your plan for the wasteland? Would you rather be starving? I would rather be gone. I would rather be dust when the bombs come along. So I fight with the dying when you can rest and be dead. We all need survival like a hole in the head. Pray you're safe and you're sound, asleep in the ground. Pray the first fucking target is this quaint little town. When the gas came you choked, when the fun came you drowned. What you gonna do when no one comes for you? Oh, what you gonna do when the consequences come for you? You better make a plan for the wasteland. So what's your plan for the wasteland? Ain't got no plan for the wasteland. Thinking Uncle Sam for the wasteland. You're a bitch of pen for the wasteland. You got no plan for the wasteland. So what you gonna do when no one comes for you? You better make a plan for the wasteland. You better make a plan for the wasteland.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do the show live every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific and beyond into red light. Sometimes goes pretty late. Support this project at patreon.com/echoplex, or you can go to eplex.store, pick up some swag, or there's also a Patreon-like subscription there. Other ways to support the show can be found at echoplexmedia.com/support. Yet again, I didn't have time to separate everything out into like an upfront and whatever. So we're going to just do a long one. I'm just going to kind of hit the ground running. So, podcast listeners, you get an extended version of the show this week. Maybe the main show is just 2 hours now. Who knows? So we're going to get right to it here. The Dominion verdict is in. Here is some coverage of that from CNN.
Presenting Dominion Voting Systems after the company settled with Fox, the attorney, Justin Nelson, announced the deal. It's a really unbelievable figure. Fox is going to pay Dominion Voting Systems $787,500,000. Dominion's lawyer saying, quote, today represents a ringing endorsement for truth and for democracy. Fox trying to put a positive face on what can only be interpreted as one of the ugliest and most embarrassing moments in the history of journalism. Fox issued a statement saying, quote, we are pleased to have reached a settlement of our dispute with Dominion Voting Systems. We acknowledge the court's rulings finding certain claims about Dominion to be false. The settlement reflects, I'm sorry, this is going to be difficult to say with a straight face. This settlement reflects Fox's continued commitment to the highest journalistic standards. We are hopeful that our decision to resolve the dispute with Dominion amicably instead of the acrimony of a divisive trial allows the country to move forward from these issues. Unquote. Let's bring back CNN legal analysts Laura Coates and Ellie Honig. Wow. So Laura, 700.
So I'm not a big fan of Jake Tapper, but I do feel sorry for him having to try to read that shit with a straight face, right? Because he was right. He's like, this is kind of hard to read with a straight face. Fox is like, oh, we're all for integrity in journalism or whatever. It's almost like ethics in game journalism or something. Like just trying to fucking talk about Gamergate and say that shit with a straight face. So my understanding that when Dominion was like trying to raise money, they had a valuation of $60 million. So the company was worth $60 million. They just got a settlement for more than 10 times that. So I guess they're worth more than $60 million now. Here's Fox News' Howie Kurtz. He refuses to give the dollar amount for the settlement because he just doesn't know if it's been confirmed or not.
Night. Hi, Howie.
Jillian, a 2-hour mystery behind closed doors turned into a sudden and dramatic last-minute settlement between Fox and Dominion, ending one of the most heavily covered media lawsuits in the modern era. Judge Eric Davis had already helped select and seat a jury and announced that opening arguments would begin right after lunch. And then, late today, the judge emerging and delivering these 6 words: the parties have resolved their case. Dominion had sued Fox, charging that the network damaged its reputation by reporting on false claims that its machines were somehow stealing votes from Donald Trump and flipping them to Joe Biden, citing internal messages that key figures at Fox did not believe those conspiracy theories. Fox argued that Dominion cherry-picked evidence in search of a big payday and that the First Amendment protects the network's airing of false claims made by former President Trump and his allies as extraordinarily newsworthy. Fox said in a statement, we are pleased to have reached a settlement of our dispute with Dominion Voting Systems. We acknowledge the court's rulings finding certain claims about Dominion to be false. This settlement reflects Fox's continued commitment to the highest journalistic standards. A Dominion lawyer gave reporters a dollar figure for the segment, but I have not been able to independently confirm that. Dominion CEO John Poulos shared his opinion with reporters. Fox has admitted telling lies about Dominion. Now, both sides had an incentive to avoid a costly 6-week trial. Dominion might have lost and gotten zero. Some of Fox's top executives and opinion hosts would have had to testify. But there's undoubtedly disappointment at other networks that were relishing this spectacle.
Not just other networks, just fucking everybody. Everybody thought it was great. I do wish they would have gone to trial, though, because and they should have put it on TV, right? Because Tuk Tuk having to testify would be amazing. Him under cross-examination where he can't deflect and he has to answer questions or be held in contempt would have been fucking fantastic. Here's, I believe, Fox's Mark Levin on this matter.
That's this judge in the Dominion lawsuit in Delaware. I'm looking here at Mediaite, who is obsessed with this case.
That's who this clip is from.
Because they're all left-wing goons and prepubescents. Nonetheless, they're headlined by Ken Meyer. We've dealt with him before. A judge in Fox Dominion trial roasts Maria Bartiromo. She's clearly neutral, he says snarkily. I guess this man, this judge, this Superior Court judge in Delaware, hasn't heard about New York versus Sullivan. Maybe he hasn't even heard about freedom of the press. Does the judge know how to speak? Is he even literate? So here's the judge who's supposed to be impartial, who clearly is not, by his own words. And I would argue by his rulings. According to Washington Post media critic Eric Wemple, who was in the courtroom for the hearing, the judge's delivery was deadpan and confused the Fox attorney. That was not the only time Judge Davis spoke out in colorful terms about Fox's coverage in the aftermath of the election, which he's described in scathing terms throughout this case. Judge, why don't you step aside? This is the big leagues. You may not be able to handle this. It's going to go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
No, he was wrong. They settled.
Lawyers or the Fox executives or this one. I'm just saying, as a lawyer.
Wait, Mark Levin's a lawyer?
You're small potatoes. This is in your courtroom. You're making a clown show of the thing. You're obviously biased and partisan, the way that you're ruling. Bartiromo has continued to promote election denialism. Gee, you would have thought they were talking about Jamie Raskin in 2016. Or dozens of Democrats in 2016. I wonder what the judge would think about that. I wonder if the judge is aware that NBC News raised questions about voting machines. As did many...
Oh, it's a whataboutism time.
...experts and the connection to the internet. I didn't raise these questions. They did.
Okay, well, you weren't named in the lawsuit.
Went out under the signatures of Elizabeth Warren and Ron Wyden, and I did all this research today for my Sunday show on Fox, so you'll want to see it. Maybe I'm telling too much right now. Let's wait. Even though I know.
He's whispering. Nobody can hear him.
You're hanging on my every syllable. Because the corrupt Democrat Party media and those funded by Democrat donors, like Media Matters and Mediaite and the others, they desperately want this case to be won by the plaintiffs. They don't care about...
I like how he's whispering. It's amazing.
Press. I'm whispering.
But is he afraid Dominion's going to sue him next if he says this shit too loud?
Oh, you're not going to want to miss my Sunday show. I got Dershowitz for half the show.
Oh, friend of Epstein.
I've got the former acting Attorney General of the United States, Matt Whitaker. I think you're going to love the show.
Sounds great. You should watch his show instead of mine on Sunday, obviously. God, what a fucking black hole of charisma Mark Levin has become. I remember when he was kind of like animated and like I never liked him or whatever, but I thought that he was, animated. Like I thought he was a decent broadcaster at one point, but now, nope. He's boring. I was like waiting for that clip to end. I mean, I want all of this to end, but I was waiting for that clip to end. I was like, is this still going? Why is this still going? So up next, we have Marjorie the Gathering. She's going to ask what she believes are tough questions in a hearing, and she's going to get shut down by both her, by both the Democrats and by her own side.
Outrage, complete outrage, where China is poisoning America's children, poisoning our teenagers, poisoning our young people. How long are you going to let this go on?
Congresswoman, let me assure you that we're not letting it go on. We are fighting this.
No, I reclaim my time. You're a liar. You are letting this go on, and the numbers.
Well,
no, obviously.
Actually, I want you to take the words of the speaker down.
So in making a ruling on this, it's pretty clear that the rules state you can't impugn someone's character. Identifying or calling someone a liar is unacceptable in this committee. And I make the ruling that we strike those words.
Sorry, just a point of order, it's a legitimate question.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you move to take the words down or to strike them, Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, sorry, I just stepped in.
Take them down.
So
That's what we did.
my understanding is if words are taken down, that means that the member can no longer speak in whatever the proceeding is that those words were said.
Personal inquiry. Point of personal inquiry.
There's no such thing.
Stand by just
There's no such thing as a point of personal inquiry, Marge.
House, when we strike, it does terminate the time of the individual who is speaking. So the gentlelady is no longer recognized. The chair now recognizes Mr. Ivy, I believe.
Can I make a point of inquiry, Mr. Chairman?
You can.
So the ruling was that because she used the word liar, that was taken down, which I agree with.
Yes.
But accusing
a statement of fact is very similar to the posters that Mr.
There's no statement of fact.
There's no statement of fact.
Bullshit.
There's no
statement of
factual
fact.
basis for the statement.
We're not here to debate this, okay? And the ruling was made by the chair that these previous words were not against the rules of Clause 1 and Clause 4 of Rule 17. But to tell someone that they are a liar it's pretty clear in the rules.
Slander is clearly covered by the rule.
Well, slander is a legal term, yeah, but you can't in the House of Representatives, you can't be like, you're a liar. You can say, I think you're lying, but you can't just say someone's a liar. I know that's like a distinction without a whole lot of difference, but I mean, these bodies have all these kind of weird esoteric rules. Anything, honestly, to make Marjorie the Gathering shut the fuck up is good with me. Speaking of Marjorie the Gathering, usually little Nicky Fuentes is relegated only to red light. We only cover him in red light, but because it's about Marjorie the Gathering, and we just had a Marjorie the Gathering clip, we're going to play a Nicky Fuentes clip. Looks like there's a war between little Nicky Fuentes and Marjorie the Gathering.
You know what, Marjorie, you stupid bitch.
Whoa, dude, Nicky. Listen, he said that, not me.
War on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Metaphorically, not personally. You stupid fucking bitch. You're
My
ugly.
God, Nicky.
You wear highlights in your hair, and you're fucking stupid, and we hate you. Yo, get this. You see her tweet? Watch this. She retweeted an article from Daily Beast trying to smear me. How low can this woman go? She's best friends with pedophile Jew Milo Yiannopoulos,
Whoa, dude.
who's living in her campaign house with his black husband.
No, remember we watched the video of him throwing his wedding ring in the ocean? I was like, pawn that shit, you dumb fuck.
And now apparently he's writing her tweets. So you know what? I was going to drop it. I was going to let it go, but now it's on site. I'm going to Northwest Georgia. We're buying ads. We're putting up a website. I don't care what the outcome is. Every voter in Northwest Georgia is going to know this woman hired a pedophile Jew named Milo.
Just saying she hired Milo Yiannopoulos is good enough for most regular people. You don't gotta go hella extra like that, Nicky. Also, little information about his good buddy Ali Alexander comes up tonight during red light.
Putting it on the ad. We're putting it on the website. We're putting it on the billboard. It's on site. Marjorie Greene, #1 enemy of the America First movement. You heard it here first.
Don't ever, dude, that's why you don't ever make friends with these people. Like Marge tried to make friends with these people, and look what happened. I don't feel sorry for Marjorie Taylor Greene, but if you make friends with a bunch of fucking Nazis, they're going to eventually fucking turn their ire at you, because all they are is hateful. That's all they have is hate and hate. That's it. So, eventually you're going to be in the crosshairs, so to speak.
She should have no right to come at me. And honestly, I may even consider a lawsuit for her to insinuate that I'm like covering up for a pedophile. I mean, that's just straight up defamation. So I am a lawsuit, and I'm talking to people to see if I could put some money together for that, because I know.
But no, she just retweeted a Daily Beast. You would be suing the Daily Beast.
This wench go down.
A wench? The only lady we call a wench around here is the media wench, and it's a term of endearment, and she gave that name to herself. A wench? What is it, ye oldie times? Wench, bring me a beer. What a fucking old-fashioned young man little Nicky Fuentes is sometimes. So the thing, in case you haven't heard, the thing he's referring to is his pal, Ali Alexander. It came to light that he was asking like 15-year-old boys for dick pics in exchange for access to Milo Yiannopoulos. Fucking sick behavior. So little Ali Alexander's like, oh, I'm going to take a little time out of the spotlight. Ali Alexander going to get a knock on his door. That shit's illegal. Strangely enough, it'll probably be like a U.S. postal inspector that comes after him because it's the internet crime and it's crime across state lines using a means of interstate commerce. So it'd be really weird to get arrested by the post office, but I think that's what's going to be in Ali Alexander's future. Now little Nicky Fuentes is trying to do anything he can to not talk about it because they were thick as thieves, man. They were thick as thieves. And oopsie, again, careful who you associate with. Up next, we got Sore Loser Lake, staying mad, just staying mad. And you'll love to see it. Here's her on the Kimberly Guilfoyle show. Like I said, just staying fucking mad. If Twitter cooperates here. Great website they're running over there at Twitter, by the way. No notes. If I had an actual intern or something, I'd have them download all the videos for me before the show so I don't have to deal with this bullshit. Here's Sore Loser Lake, Sore Loserin on the Kim Guilfoyle show with a really bad green screen.
Right now, I am focused, as you know, because we've talked many times on my court case. I'm not just hopeful about my court case, I'm confident in it because we have the evidence. It's overwhelming. All you had to do was be in Arizona on November 8th. You saw it, you felt it. Everyone in Arizona knows. Katie Hobbs wakes up every day. She looks in the mirror and she sees a liar looking back at her and a fraud, and she knows that.
What, are you in her mirror?
The entire state knows that election was stolen.
Yo, Katie Hobbs squeaked out a victory by just being like, oh, not going to say shit. My opponent is a crazy person who believes in chemtrails. I'm just going to sit out the election for the most part. We'll just let Carrie Lake do the Carrie Lake thing. And she fucking won. She didn't even campaign. She was like, nah. She was like, I'm hoping that people will see Carrie Lake on one line and then see another person who is not Carrie Lake on the other line and act accordingly. And she squeaked out a victory by like not doing shit. And that's probably one of the things that pisses off fucking Carrie Lake the most, honestly, is that her opponent didn't campaign at all. And Carrie Lake was like running all over the fucking place trying to get people to vote for her. Amazing. Just fucking amazing. So up next, we have more Sore Loser Lake. This time she is on the Steve Bannon show. And apparently she ran into the Morning Joe and Mika at the West Palm Beach airport, and it didn't go so well.
Can you just describe that? We're going to play B-roll. We got a little bit of B-roll, and we'll play some stills of what happened. Tell us what happened yesterday with you and Mika.
Yeah, I happened to be at the airport, Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, and I was leaving, and I happened to see Joe Scarborough. So I turned around and got on the escalator down, and he was heading into the restroom, and I said, "Hey, Joe," and he was nice. He said, "Hey," I said, I just wanted to introduce myself because you guys spend an awful lot of time bad-mouthing me on your show, and I just wanted to, put the human being behind the face that you guys kind of go after." And Mika was not very pleasant. She started recording me unbeknownst to me, which is fine. When I called her out and said, "Are you recording this?" She said yes. And Joe said, "Don't do that." Like he was a little bit perturbed that she was recording.
I'd record it.
But I just said, look, I'm the human being behind the person you guys like to bash 24/7, and that's okay. But I just wanted to introduce myself. And then she called me. Then her handler, the handler you see in that picture, said, "Well, you're a liar and you're an election denier and
fuck you out of their handler.
You're delusional and all of this." And I said, I'd love to come on your show and talk about it. Mika did jump in and reiterate what the staffer said. Like I said, Joe was pretty pleasant. And when I said to Mika, "Are you recording this?" She said yes. And Joe said, "Don't do that." And I don't know if that started something when I walked away. I walked away from it alive and fine. So that's good.
All right. Well, they didn't kill you. I suppose that's good. Ran into Morning Joe, didn't die. What a warrior. I would have loved to have heard that. That'd have been great. Listening to like their handler go, "Oh no, you're actually a crazy person." Yeah, she lived through it. Chat is shocked too. Up next, we got Matt Gaetz on the Steve Bannon show. He has the proof about Hunter Biden's laptop. Because I don't know. It's just what we talk about now. It's Hunter Biden's laptop.
Solomon comes on today, because I noticed one thing that you've been very focused on. John Solomon comes on, got a breaking story. Then he tells us Jim Jordan, he talked to Jordan, that you guys have been doing depositions of certain members related in the intelligence community to the full page ad in the letter that came out about the laptop from Health 41. And he mentioned Mike Morell's name, and he said Mike Morell's given some information that could lead one to believe what Solomon thinks, that you're going to be able to connect this to the Biden campaign. Now, I know you've been very involved in this. This is a kind of a bombshell.
So people know who Mike Morell is, former deputy director of the CIA, former acting director of the CIA, wanted to be Joe Biden's CIA director, got a phone call from Tony Blinken, who was representing the Biden campaign, saying, gee, Mike, doesn't this Hunter Biden laptop look like Russian disinformation? Morell testifies that then triggers him to be the ringleader of an enterprise to go to others and to put together a letter for the specific purpose of use by Joe Biden in the presidential debate.
You guys can prove that?
We can prove that and much more. Everything I'm telling you.
I'm amazed that he thinks that they're going to depose members of the intelligence community and get like straight answers, and that the people in the intelligence community aren't just going to lie to their faces in a deposition. Like, who does he think these people are? These people are fucking spies. I've seen Burn Notice. I know what's going on.
Corroborate with records and testimony. There are other very concerning behaviors of the government that I have only seen reflected in testimony. Some I've only seen reflected in records. That's why every day this week I will be conducting depositions as a part of what we're doing on the weaponization subcommittee.
Wait, is he deposing people?
We are rocking and rolling to get to the bottom of it, and there'll be much more to come.
Hey, where's Nestor? Can we talk about Nestor?
We can prove that the entire purpose of this letter at the outset was to influence a presidential election with some of the most senior people who have ever been in our intelligence community, using the imprimatur of their security clearances to pave the way for Joe Biden's presidency.
Yo, spy's gonna lie to you. That's all I'm saying. Spy's gonna lie to you. Don't care. They don't care where they're at. That's their job. They're gonna lie. So I wouldn't trust a damn word a spy told me, even in a deposition. Don't care. These people are just desperate for this Hunter Biden's laptop thing to be a thing. And I don't know. Like, I don't give a shit what was on that laptop. He keeps saying the hard drive, too. If it was a modern laptop, and these were probably Apple laptops, that shit was soldered to the board. There was no hard drive. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, we're going to move on. Rand Paul is a one-trick pony. Here he is talking about COVID and the disinformation during the height of the pandemic.
Member Paul, you are recognized for your opening comments.
In 2002, Congress established the Department of Homeland Security in response to the 9/11 attacks to centralize and consolidate to prevent terrorist attacks. In the 20 years since its creation, the Department of Homeland Security has departed.
I like that there's people in the background just having a conversation while he's giving his statement. They're like, oh, this shit again. Like, did you see what happened at fucking Sally's party? Oh my God.
From its original mission and used its expansive authorities and funding to impede on the rights of American citizens. This is not just my opinion. In November 2022, the ACLU concluded 20 years later, it's past time to seriously reconsider DHS. Well, you're good luck getting the fucking Republicans that you caucus with to fucking defund or get rid of the DHS. The practices aren't just antithetical to our values. They're a waste of taxpayer dollars and a distraction from serious problems facing people in our country. What should terrify every American is that the full extent of DHS's abuse of power against its own citizens are still largely unknown. The public is only recently learning the degree to which the department's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, was employed to surveil and censor American citizens' social media for what it concluded to be misinformation and disinformation. What was the result? Statements about COVID-19 that are now supported by evidence were flagged as disinformation.
Which statements? What do you mean? They all say this. They're all like, oh, we are declaring victory. All the things that the conspiracy theorists were saying about COVID turned out to be true. You go, well, like what? And then they're like, they won't tell you. Like, did health officials get things wrong, especially at the beginning? Well, yeah. Remember when everybody's wiping down surfaces because we thought maybe you were going to get COVID from surfaces, and then we learned that it was mostly airborne, and then we stopped wiping down all the surfaces like a bunch of lunatics? Is that what they mean? I mean, I don't... Like, what is he talking about?
Statements, including my own, that were once labeled by our government as disinformation, such as opinions on the efficacy of masks, naturally acquired immunity, and the origins of COVID-19 are...
So none of those things, the masks were effective. What he wants, that's this nirvana fallacy shit about the mask, right? It's like, well, is the mask going to prevent everyone from getting it all the time, always? Well, no. Does even a crude mask make it so if you sneeze, less water droplets go flying into the air and you're less likely to spread the thing? Yes. Like that's it. It's the nirvana fallacy, all this shit all the time. Just like the vaccine. Is the vaccine perfect? No. Is it better than not getting it? For the vast majority of people? Yes.
Now supported by the majority of people and by the evidence, but were labeled by the government as misinformation. The government worked with social media, in fact, to censor these opinions. This is something that shouldn't happen in a free country and is contrary to the spirit and the law of the First Amendment. In 2021, DHS even put out a video encouraging children to report their own family members to Facebook for disinformation.
That's pretty based, actually, being like, hey, kids, is Uncle Bob posting a bunch of shit about QAnon? Here's how to report a post from your Uncle Bob. That's pretty fucking awesome, actually.
They challenged the U.S. government narratives on COVID-19. Does that not sound like something out of 1984? Does that not sound like something out of Stalin's Russia? That our government's trying to get our kids to report their parents?
Famously, Stalin was like, listen, children, you must report people spreading misinformation on social media. Famously.
I mean, that's crazy. Can you imagine your agency's putting out a video to tell kids to report their parents if they say something like, well, maybe children don't need to be vaccinated? I still say that because it's the truth.
Right, but that doesn't mean that you're right. Like, he's a doctor, but I think he's like an ophthalmologist or whatever, and he like certified himself with his own ophthalmology fucking certification board or whatever. Like, I don't care if you think that.
The risks for the vaccine are greater than the disease for COVID for children.
That's not true.
For the elderly and those who are targeted with the disease, but that's an opinion based on peer-reviewed papers. But that's not the government shouldn't get involved with trying to censor and restrict my ability to say these things. In reality,
sir, you are the government.
A significant source of disinformation during the pandemic, with the most influence and greatest impact on the people's lives, was the U.S. government. The greatest purveyor of disinformation has been the U.S. government. All of this was occurring during what was likely the greatest...
So when he says misinformation, he probably means like the CDC, right? Did the CDC get some stuff wrong? Sure, but that's like different than misinformation and disinformation. As like a situation is unfolding, everybody's going to get it wrong. That's why I, like when something bad happens, I'm like, oh, let's wait. Like if something real bad happened today, I might have mentioned it at the top of the show, but then we wouldn't really spend much time on it. We'd have to wait till next week. Because all the information coming out today would have been bad. Or not all of it, but enough of it would have been bad that it would have been like a waste of our time to get involved in like the speculation game and cover other people's speculations about what was going on. That's all that happened when when we first realized that COVID was going to be a real problem. The CDC gave some good advice, some bad advice, and most of the bad advice they updated with better advice. Like this is just how this works. When something's new, we don't know that much about it.
National security threat to our nation in modern history, a global pandemic that killed millions of Americans. During this time, the Department of Homeland Security, working to determine the origins of COVID-19 pandemic and whether taxpayer funding went to conduct risky research in China, was this going on? To our knowledge, we know of no delving into this by the DHS. Where did the virus come from? If it came
because maybe the DHS was like, well, this is stupid. These are just there's no evidence for these claims, so we're not going to look into them.
From a lab, wouldn't that?
I'm not a big fan of the fucking DHS.
Isn't that somehow under the purview of the DHS to be looking at where the virus might have come from? At least.
Well, that's like no. I mean, that's the purview of like infectious disease specialists, sir.
Several of the intelligence agencies now conclude it did come from there. Dozens and dozens of the most esteemed scientists in our country now conclude that it came from a lab.
Dozens and dozens of the most esteemed scientists in our country, but talking about fucking Brett Weinstein and shit. Like, he's not talking about, like, dozens and dozens of people are going to go against the scientific consensus in any field. That's fine. That always happens. That's why we're not like, 12 scientists said this. It's like, all right. Yeah, it's a cooker's dozen, as someone in chat said.
Into that. What's going on? Are you really trying to protect us from biological threats if we're not being told that you've looked into the origins of COVID virus at all? Instead of focusing on real threats like this, DHS was internally strategizing on how it can expand social media censorship of America's using third-party nonprofits, as in the words of a CISA official who said, a clearinghouse for information to avoid the appearance of government propaganda. So here's our government using NGOs and using them as a clearinghouse, but let's make sure nobody sees that it's us so it doesn't look overtly like government propaganda.
Yeah, the government never puts their thumb on the scale for anything. Get the fuck out of here.
Like, that's coming from your own agencies. A report published last month by the Brennan Center for Justice found at least 12 overlapping DHS programs for tracking what Americans are saying online. It found that the department's programs have veered from its original counterterrorism mission into tracking social and political movements and monitoring First Amendment protected activity of American citizens. This is a serious abuse.
He's like, they're only supposed to do that to the fucking hippies and the environmentalists. What the fuck?
Power. The report concluded that overbroad mandates, flimsy safeguards, and fragmented oversight have allowed overreach and abuses to proliferate across DHS intelligence programs. This is the kind of abuse of power that should terrify all of us, regardless of which side of the aisle you are on. Even worse, it is taking place while the department is failing miserably at one of its core responsibilities, securing our border. Congress,
that's not DHS's job.
Continue to provide more funding responsibility.
We have like two whole ass other organizations that are supposed to secure the border.
Clearly misunderstands its statutory authorities and purpose.
Thank you, Ranking Member Paul.
Oh, he's the ranking member of Go Fuck Yourself. I just made that up. Here we go. We got Glenn Beck, who is still around somehow. Has his finger on the pulse over there at Twitter. Act like you know.
Did you see? I love Elon Musk. He is.
Yo, I bet we could find examples of Glenn Beck like 5 or 10 years ago bad mouthing Elon Musk because he was making electric cars or his company was making electric cars. I guarantee you we could find that.
Now flagging, NPR and PBS as government funded agencies. He's now done it to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Radio New Zealand, Australia Broadcasting Corporation, tagging them all with government-funded media. Now, he also said government-funded media on the BBC, but he has rebranded that as publicly funded media. So now everybody's like, oh, I want publicly.
Yeah, publicly funded sounds way better.
Way better. But isn't it amazing how much they're screaming about this?
Yeah, did you see, too, that Elon Musk was, I guess the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, came back and said, we're only 70%, we're less than 70% government funded. So he changed it to 69% government funded.
Oh, my God.
Oh, because he's like a fucking 12-year-old boy. Like, I'm sorry, a racist 12-year-old boy.
That is so funny.
This just seems like he just paid $44 billion to screw around.
Oh, I think it's great.
I mean, it is entertaining.
I mean, whatever. He's like a child. It is. I mean, it is kind of like, it's funny, but not for the reason they think it's funny. I think it's funny that this guy has all the money in the world, and the only thing he ever wanted was for like real, actual famous people, like celebrities and people in media, to like him. And for a while they were inclined to, because he was doing electric cars, right? And they're like, oh, this is pretty good, we don't know that much about the guy, but we think this electric car thing's a good idea. And then they met him. He started going to like Hollywood parties and parties in Manhattan, and he was like trying to tell jokes and shit, and nobody thought he was funny. Probably said some racist shit. And then fucking they didn't like him, and he got hell mad because like no celebrity wants to be around him. His fucking wife left him because he's a giant asshole. And so he wanted to like get back at the world, and he bought Twitter. And now, unfortunately, his fans are just getting made fun of, like just in like an awesome way. Like his stands on Twitter just get piled on, and like real celebrities, people with like real social cachet, are like just talking so much shit about Elon. It's amazing. I'm not like some celebrity stan. Like I don't like William Shatner went after him. I don't like William Shatner. William Shatner, an asshole. But like all these people have like gone after him. Like Stephen King's going after him, and all he wanted was celebrities to like him, and they don't. And now they really don't like him, and he's just like trying to get back at them. And it's so funny because they don't give a fuck about this. Like if you're like, we'll use William Shatner as an example. He's had a long career. He's, maybe not long for this world. He's getting older. He is old. And so why the fuck does he care if the guy who runs Twitter doesn't like him, So Stephen King's getting older too. Maybe not so long for the world. Stephen King, demonstrably better person, I think, than William Shatner. So like, why would these people care? Why would Elon think he could somehow get back at these people for not liking him? He can't. Their cachet is through like art and music. Most of the people that he doesn't like. And as long as they keep film, and as long as they keep doing art, music, and film that people like, it doesn't matter what the fuck Elon says about them. None of them will ever be as rich as Elon because, art, film, and music are work. And so those, even if they're rich, those are working people. And so you can't make $200 billion by working. Get the fuck out of here. So anyway, here's old Tucker Carlson thinks that Apartheid Clyde is going to make an AI to save Tucker from the woke AI.
As of tonight, OpenAI is no longer open. It's not a nonprofit research project dedicated to using artificial intelligence to serve humanity. It is instead a commercial enterprise backed by Microsoft and controlled to some extent by the Democratic Party.
Wait, what? No.
Elon Musk thinks that's a problem. In fact, he believes it's a threat to human civilization, tantamount to, maybe even more terrifying than, thermonuclear weapons.
Right, so next we're going to get the cat turd AI. We're gonna have an AI that just responds to you like a fucking shut-in loner who fucking nobody goes and visits, and all they have is Twitter. That's what we're getting. We're getting cat turd AI from fucking Apartheid Clyde. Don't worry though, Charlie Kirk is on board with the cat turd AI too, because of course he is.
That we don't almost do anything effectively right now because our elites are awful. They could use the anxiety about AI to actually create an even bigger government that would restrict our liberties and freedoms, and then we'd be even less free. I mean, is the best option then to do nothing and create our own and just game out all the doom scenarios, similar to kind of how we used to live when we used to think Russia was going to launch nuclear weapons at us? I mean, is that now the prudent approach? Is like, let's go create our own patriotic AI based.
Oh no, Patriot AI. People going to get so scammed. Yo, people are going to get so scammed. They're going to be like, Patriot AI, $50 a month. It's going to be like one of those dumb programs you'd ask questions to in like the 90s and it would answer you.
AI, if you will, in the AI arms race and do no regulation, because at least we'd have a fighting shot. I'm just trying to think rationally here.
And I think it's definitely a rational argument. And I wish that I could make some sort of really coherent argument against it. The only argument I have against it is that it's much more of a philosophical argument that as these technologies progress, human freedom and human dignity and certainly privacy will tend to recede. And so these systems, as this AI arms race is ramping up, these systems are getting better and better.
Yo, I don't even know what they're mad at the AI for. The AI does actually the version of ChatGPT that like the public is allowed to take a look at is just avoids controversy at all costs. Like it just says, I'm not going to comment on that. That's really controversial. Or, I don't have political opinions. People have tried to get it to comment on, some of the more controversial issues of our day, and it's really hard to get it to do it. So I don't know what they want. I guess they want the AI that'll be like, there's only two genders. I identify as an attack helicopter. Ha 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 ha. And then it explodes. So Laura Ingraham is going to talk about the world that is coming for us. And I don't. Her prediction ain't so bad.
Yes, the Democrats are determined to keep young people weak, poor, frightened, and alone. They don't want you to get married. They don't want you to go out to work. They don't want you to have kids. They want you at home smoking pot, playing video games, and spending the rest of your life as a 12-year-old.
Like Elon Musk?
We all know stories of young people who don't want to grow up. But I really don't believe that most young Americans want to spend the rest of their lives feeling sorry for themselves. They want to grow up. They want responsibility. And they want better lives for themselves and someday, yes, for their children. So here at The Angle, our motto is no American left behind, and that includes young Americans. We have to help them overcome that despair that the Democrats are selling.
All right. I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying her this no American left behind shit, because her content has very much suggested to me over the years that there are people, like I said, it depends on who you think is an American, or even more like at a basic level, at a lower level, who you even think is a person. And so, like, if you've just decided that certain folks aren't actually people, then I guess, sure, you can be like, no American left behind. Boom. Well, that's not even a person. Come on now. RFK Jr. has announced his run for presidency. He's going to run as a Democrat, and his platform will be anti-vaccine madness. Here is a video he made announcing his candidacy.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
Every nation has a darker side, and the easiest thing for a politician to do is to appeal to our hatred and our anger and our bigotry and greed and xenophobia and all of the alchemies of demagoguery. My father and my uncle had a vision for America, a vision of racial harmony, of prosperity for all Americans, of peace in the world, and of honest government. Their lives were tragically cut short, and America took a different path. Yet the possibility they foresaw is still alive, the America that almost was, and yet may be. I've been fighting corporate corruption my entire life, but I understand that today, the problem is much larger than a few crooked individuals. The problem is a system that no longer serves the people, and a people who are so divided and so fearful that they are easily ruled. It's time to unlearn the reflexes of fear and blame and find ways to unify ourselves and turn our country.
Look at he's running a bunch of B-roll of him like before he became an anti-vaccine celebrity. This is weird. This is clearly old video.
I won't pretend to you that it will be easy, but I know what it will take. My father said it: love, wisdom, and compassion toward one another. And that's where we need to start. We will scale down the war machine and bring our resources home. We will rebuild our water systems, repair our roads, modernize our railroads, and clean up our environment. We will also clean up government and earn back the people's trust. We will end the secrecy, the censorship, and the surveillance. We will again be a...
You're never going to end the surveillance.
Liberty.
The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it.
We will face honestly the darker parts of our history, the genocide, the racism, not to shame or blame or punish, but to repair as best we can in a spirit of compassion and kindness toward all. I'm inviting all of you to join me to create an America that we can believe in and be proud of again. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm running for President of the United States.
Well, that's unfortunate. The first official anti-vaccine candidate is running as a Democrat. I don't think he's going to poll high enough to meet the Democratic Party's requirements for him to get into a debate. And unfortunately, if there were a debate, it would be Joe Biden debating him in the primary. And, Joe's lost a step. Everybody knows that. Joe's getting older. He's fine. He has good people working for him, generally makes the right decisions as to executive action, generally. But that would be a very bad debate. Be not very entertaining to watch. And yes, we would go live to cover it. Say what you want about Barack Obama, Barack Obama versus this guy in a debate would be fucking amazing. Just absolutely fucking amazing. Barack Obama would body RFK Jr. because he's got that gift of gab, and he would just call him out for being an anti-vaxxer. But that's all. If this guy starts to pick up steam, all Joe Biden's campaign has to do is run clips of him on InfoWars, just nonstop. Democrats aren't going to vote for him. In states with open primaries, there may be Republicans that cross over to go vote for RFK Jr., but I don't think he's a challenge to Joe Biden in the primary. He may be more of a challenge than Marianne Williamson, which I think is probably just the result of sexism, honestly. I think it would, just sexism, mostly. They called her Orb Lady. I don't agree with Marianne Williamson, and she's certainly had some problematic things she's done in the past, but I do stan her for absolutely fucking making a mockery of Dave Rubin when she went on his show. If this was an open Democratic primary, like if Joe Biden had decided not to run, then it would be a massacre. This guy would get absolutely destroyed by, I don't know, like Eric Swalwell would run. Like, there'd be a bunch of people that would run that would just absolutely obliterate RFK Jr. in the debates. So here he is. Here's RFK Jr. on Neil Cavuto, and Neil Cavuto asking the tough questions.
Physical risk, as your father and your uncle knew. I don't like to be morbid about these things, so I apologize in advance for even asking this. Do you think of that?
I don't really. I mean, I'm clearly aware of that risk, but there's things that I'm much more frightened of than death, for example. I'm much more frightened of losing my constitutional rights and of America losing its democracy. And there was a whole generation of Americans in 1776 who put their lives on the line to give us this Constitution, who put their property on the line. And we're watching the Constitution being taken away from us. And we have to be willing to take risks.
So that was the tough question. Do you think they're going to kill you? The answer is no. Nobody's going to kill RFK Jr. That was a dumb question. It was like a waste of airtime. But don't worry, there's more from this interview. Here's another one. This is the one that Team Cavuto decided they were going to put up. They're like, hey, we're going to put this up because here's Neil asking the tough questions.
Right now, Neil, the polls show President Biden losing to Donald Trump, who is the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party. I'm in a better position to run against Donald Trump than any of the Democrats because I can hold him accountable for the worst thing that he did, which was the lockdowns. The lockdowns were absolutely catastrophic. The lockdowns, we now know, the countries that had less lockdowns in the states, you can put them again side by side. And those are the countries. Sweden, for example, was the only country in Europe that didn't do lockdowns. It had the lowest death rate in Europe. We led the world in lockdowns. We had the highest death rate from COVID in the world.
Okay, first of all, we didn't lead the world in lockdowns. He's like, also, like when they talk about Sweden, they leave out a huge thing. That's that Sweden, there's a lot of social cohesion. They didn't have to tell people to stay home and mask up and stay away from each other in Sweden. They didn't have to force people to do it. The people, once it was suggested by the fucking medical people, that's what fucking folks in Sweden did. They just did it. They listened to the medical professionals, probably because they have a really good medical system there. And people are like, well, I don't get charged a bunch of money when I go see the doctor. My prescriptions are free. Maybe I should trust these people about a disease. So yeah, they didn't have to use the power of the state to get people to follow recommendations the way that he's claiming the U.S. did, but we really didn't do it so much. The only mandates were that some businesses had to shut down, and then there were mandates that businesses had to require masks. And that was county by county, state by state. The idea of a lockdown is bullshit. I was able to go out and ride my bike every day during the pandemic. Ain't no lockdown. It was a stay-at-home suggestion. It's actually really nice. I rode my bike like down the middle of Winchester Boulevard the first day the stay-at-home order was put up, and I would have died doing that like just the day before. It was actually pretty cool. So up next we have the former president. One Mr. Donald Trump. He has a plan to address homelessness, and not great. I don't recommend it. You'll hear why in just a moment. Come on, Twitter. There we go.
We'll ban urban camping wherever possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated. Many of them don't want that, but we'll give them the option. We will then open up large parcels of inexpensive land, bring in doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, and drug rehab specialists, and create 10 cities where the homeless can be relocated and their problems identified. But we'll open up our cities again, make them livable and make them beautiful.
So concentration camps. Concentration camps. I feel like it's not super hyperbolic for me to call them concentration camps. We're going to build a tent city that they can't live with doctors. We say doctors. This all sounds a little familiar to me. I'm not a fucking historian. It just sounds a little familiar to me. Again, wouldn't want to be hyperbolic here. Next. Here's a clip from the NRA convention. This is from the Good Liars, and we're going to find out why there are so many mass shootings in the USA. And you're probably not going to be terribly surprised by the answer.
The wokeism in the United States with these people that are going around saying if a kid says they're a dog or cat in school, that's good.
You think that'll stop mass shootings?
I think it's a start in a way. All that stuff.
Has that happened? People said they're dogs and cats in schools?
Oh yeah, in Illinois. Oh yeah, it's going on. They put litter boxes out for them in the schools.
I think that's not true, actually. Those are not true.
I think it is true, and I think if you did your reporting, you would find out it's true. Honestly, you just look it up. Look up furries in Highland, Illinois.
Okay.
See what you come up with.
You look up furries, Highland, Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I see here for Highland, Illinois is lockdown lifted at Highland Park High School. 5 students in custody. It looks like there were reports of a gun in the school.
Yeah, they always are calling in false reports.
Oh, here's another one about the cats. A school district has been hit with rumors saying that students who identify as cats are allowed to use litter boxes in the restroom. This is what you were talking about. The superintendent said it got so bad she had to send letters to students and parents on Monday. The rumor that our schools have litter boxes in the restrooms to accommodate individuals who are self-identifying as animals, this is simply and emphatically not true.
According to them, but I'm telling you, I hear from other people that go to the schools and stuff.
I hear from other people that go to the schools. I heard from some people that went to the schools. Like I heard from someone, I mean, we all do it, right? We're like, oh, I heard this somewhere. But then when you're pressed on it, you're like, you just go, oh, well, I think I heard it somewhere. I can't prove it right now. You know, it's reasonable. We all have to do that. We don't just have like a fucking Rolodex of citations in our head. But like if somebody asks you, like, where'd you hear that from? And you don't know, you just go, oh, I don't know where I heard from this, you know. And if it's your friend or whatever, you're like, hey, I'll look it up tomorrow or whatever. We're out having a beer. But that's the thing about this stuff is it doesn't have to be true and you don't have to know where you heard it. As long as you can repeat it, that's all that matters. So up next, we got a couple things that might count as palate cleansers. If you're listening on the podcast, maybe you want to watch the video. This will go up on YouTube. Somebody tried to steal a package from someone's door and they got killed. Just watch.
You're taking my property.
Well, there's been a lot of comings and goings of UPS trucks in this neighborhood.
What about
a lot of packages coming to this house particular? Well, something's going on in there. Something's going on.
Oh, maybe he's a streamer and all his people sent him a bunch of stuff for his studio, like what happened here. That was great, everybody, by the way. Thank you.
So it's Amazon.
I'm taking the package.
It's my Amazon wish list.
I'm taking the package.
No, you're not taking my package. That's nice stuff.
Excuse me. Ow! Oh my God! You killed me!
I did not kill you. You're fine.
Oh my God!
You sprayed me with
70-30 that was real, but there's a chance that was staged. But why did she spray him? You spray somebody with some shit in a spray bottle, you don't know what's in that spray bottle that somebody's spraying at you. You have every right to defend yourself. Might have just been water or whatever, but you have every right to defend yourself when somebody starts spraying liquid on you. Especially somebody who's behaving like that, you have no idea what kind of liquid they're spraying at you. Again, there's maybe 1/3 chance that was fake. Oh, I'm hearing from the chat that it was staged. Well, We all get got sometimes. It's okay to get got as long as you as long as you have a bunch of people in your chat that are like, "Hey, idiot, you got." So we got, everybody. Happens sometimes. Up next, we have there's a guy in a in a store destroying a bunch of beer. Probably this hubbub about Bud Light. But if you look closely at the video, you'll notice something.
Bruh. Oh, shit.
Oh, that dude threw a beer can. Oh, fuck, man.
Oh, that's why he's destroying. He's destroying the Bush Light, dude. Why? Get his ass. Woo! Good job. Got quite the crowd.
So yeah, I don't know if he was having some kind of breakdown or whatever, but as soon as he started throwing the cans of beer at people, I like any sympathy I would have had for him is kind of gone. You hurl a can of beer at somebody and it hits them in the head, you do some like serious physical damage to somebody. It's not like you're just hurling beer at them. You're hurling beer and a piece of aluminum at them. Yeah, this is why you do curbside. Although you wouldn't catch that video if you'd done curbside checkout. So there's an amendment. It's Amendment A1. It's in the, I believe it's in the House or the Senate of Minnesota, and it's going to ban references to the occult, necromancy, soothsaying, Satanism, and pedophilia. And the people who have proposed it are just, talking about like totally normal shit and not acting crazy.
Sin is real. Sin, S-I-N, is real. Sin is evil. Sin can exist in any institution. And we need to work hard as the Minnesota Senate to protect our young, vulnerable children's minds against these terrible, wicked, evil practices. And unfortunately, because all humans are subjected to potentially being corrupted by sin, we need to examine all institutions to prohibit such funds. There are practices out there that seek to groom and corrupt the minds of young children to engage in sexual perversion. And those wicked people manifest themselves in many different areas of our society. One of those areas that they have manifested themselves is in the areas of the arts. And I want to make sure that taxpayer dollars do not fall into the hands of these wicked, vile people that push sexual perversion, gender confusion, that might come to our capital and in displays of abomination parade themselves around the rotunda. And I do not want pictures, plays, theater, sculptures, or any other type of art to be used to channel the occult, to promote the occult or any of its variations, Satanism, and the wicked, evil practice of grooming young children, such as pedophilia.
This is wild. This is just straight up fucking blood libel shit. Luckily enough, I do believe that the Minnesota State House, both of them have been flipped in Democratic control. So whatever this bullshit is going to get voted down. because there's no. It's too like the way he's describing it. It's too broad. Too like who decides whether a sculpture is a groomer sculpture? Like, is the statue of David a problem because it shows David's penis? I think there are a lot of famous statues that show breasts. Is that a problem? These are the same people who are like, don't censor blah, blah, blah. Now they're up in here trying to censor art class. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Up next, though, we have a local meeting. This is in Martin County, Florida. And so old military vet knows what's up.
I'm a parent to a middle school student here in Martin County. Former senior reactor operator at the nuclear power plant up on Hutchinson Island. And commander, United States Navy, retired. You know, Ray Bradbury, the author of Fahrenheit 451, had a great quote. You don't have to burn books to destroy a culture. You just have to get people to stop reading them. You know, on September 11, 2001, I was on board USS Theodore Roosevelt when religious fanatics who wouldn't even let women be educated flew planes into the World Trade Center and my Pentagon. I spent the last decade of my naval career fighting religious fascism abroad. Never thought I'd have to fight it right here in the United States of America. I grew up in rural South Carolina, and books got me out of the trailer parks. My parents trusted those educators and the librarians to let me read what I needed to read. I spent 21 years in the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program, where Admiral Hyman Rickover said a questioning attitude was the key to success in the nuclear power program. I want my son exposed to different ideas and different viewpoints so that he can learn to think critically and not be force-fed somebody else's opinion. We've all been exposed to different opinions. Makes us better, makes us stronger. Adversity has made me stronger. I didn't sacrifice 21 years of my life to stand idly by while religious fanatics and other fanatics try to impose fascism on my country. I urge you to think about what a book ban needs and use transparency. I don't need anyone else telling my son what he can and cannot read. I'm very perfectly capable of determining that for myself. Thanks for your time. Thank you for listening. I urge you to remember the Little Rock Nine. Thank you.
Yeah, get him, Pops. Get him. Like, that dude's probably a Republican too, right? Get him. Yeah, he's right. I mean, it's a fucking mess, yo. It's absolutely a fucking mess. And I think luckily enough, some regular ass people and some older people and some like more moderate Republicans, especially Republicans who have maybe teenage kids, are being like, well, wait a minute. What do you mean? Why do you think my kids are too stupid to absorb this information and not get brainwashed by it? You know what I'm saying? Even if they don't, they don't agree with what they're calling trans ideology or whatever. I think a lot of parents are going to get pissed. They're going to realize that, like, wait, you banned what? They're banning books. Like, they're probably going to ban Fahrenheit 451, right? Because it's a book that would tell them kids that they should be able to read other books. Can't have that. So here's the Montana anti-trans bill. The discussion on it's still going. It's not great, but Representative Zephyr is great.
Madam Chair, committee members, while the amendment is coming around, it is just one page. It revises 3 of the definitions in the existing bill. It would make changes to the terms female, the term male, and the term sex, Madam Chair.
Is there discussion on the amendment? Representative Zephyr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the 3rd attempt to define sex in this bill. There was an original definition in the Senate. It was amended in the Senate. It was amended because the original definition wasn't accurate. They amended it, and that definition was not accurate. And we've got a 3rd definition here that is inaccurate. It still excludes intersex people. It still has problems, and it still is doing so in an attempt to write trans people out of code. I want to be really clear. You could amend this definition 100 times, and you would not find a way to make a binary definition of sex workable. You cannot define binary sex in code any more than you could legislate that the earth is flat. This does not work. It's a bad amendment. It's a bad bill. Vote it down.
Further discussion.
Nope, we don't need any further discussion. She right. I like how she evoked flat earthers too. She's been doing like heroes work in that fucking legislative body, by the way, because odds are stacked against her, and she's like trying to convince basically a lot of people that don't think she's a woman and maybe might have some questions on whether or not she's even in the category of people that they should vote against this. And she's like not trying to appeal to them in any sort of like ethical way, like, oh, this is unethical, you're discriminating against people. She's like just trying to be like, listen, this is unworkable as it's written. It's like she's pretty smart about it. And unfortunately, I feel like she's going to end up like her work won't be in vain, because a lot of people will see what she's saying, and there may be a lot more community support because of what she's doing. But I feel like the bill that she's talking about is going to pass. So here's an actual problem that happened in a school. Pretty gruesome story, and really didn't have anything to do with queer people.
This video came to light. You can see these are 12 and 13-year-olds at Kimbrough Middle School in Mesquite, Texas, whose faces have been blurred because their minors appear to be fighting each other at the encouragement of their substitute teacher. The incident was caught on a cell phone video obtained by NBC Dallas. The mother of the student who filmed this video says she was shocked at what she saw.
I was devastated. I was like, I couldn't watch the full video. I had to stop it multiple times because I didn't think it was real. I said, this must be a prank. This is not real.
According to Martinez, her daughter told her Garcia pushed desks aside to create a space for the students to fight each other, with some leaving the classroom bleeding.
I do not want this on record.
The school district confirmed the teacher encouraged the fighting and told a student to keep watch at the door while fights took place.
Who in their right mind? Because I trust my child to go to school, but I also trust the staff to keep my kids safe. And then this lady, she actually making them fight.
Mesquite Independent School District released a statement calling Garcia's actions appalling and intolerable. They write in part, "As educators, our hearts are heavy, knowing that an individual entrusted with the supervision and care of our students could behave in this manner, and we share the disgust that the families of students in this class must feel." Mesquite ISD has fired Garcia, who had been an employee of the district for just over a month. It's not clear if Garcia has obtained legal counsel. The Dallas County Public Defender's Office has not responded to a request for comment. Now, Beatrice Martinez, whose daughter filmed the video, says her daughter is getting death threats from fellow students for reporting the incident.
Oh, yikes. The kids are like, we like the fight club in the class. Yo, that mom looked like she wanted to have a little fight club with that substitute teacher. My God. Like, and it sucks too, because like substitute teacher, it's like hard to get substitute teachers. And like most people who do that work, they don't get paid very well, and they do difficult work because they're not familiar with the students. They're not familiar with the lesson plan, et cetera, et cetera. And now you have this person out there fucking, you don't ever see no news story about how great, you know, Mrs. Pennington, the substitute teacher is, or whatever, or Mr. Smith or whoever it is. You never see those videos about that. You see about the fucking Fight Club substitute teacher. And that's fucking crazy. Like, this person should go to jail. We're not big fans of the carceral state around here and shit. We hate the carceral state, but that person should go to jail. This next video, it's kind of funny because I don't think that my takeaway from this is what the religious nutter had to say about it. But I think this guy, my takeaway is that the God thinks everybody white. I think God thinks everybody's in the Forward Party or a Scientology meeting.
Just think how much more the blood of Christ will purify our consciences from sinful deeds so that we can worship the living God. It's the only reason why you're able to stand here. I hope you know that. It's the only reason you have breath in your lungs right now. It's the only reason why you're able to scream, "I'm white as snow. I'm white as snow." That's how the Lord sees you.
Unfortunately, they don't pan on the audience so that we could see that the audience probably is in fact white as snow.
You don't have to offer him any sacrifices anymore. You're able to stand here and worship him and celebrate that you're white as snow. So this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. With this in mind, I want to go back into that ridge. And then I want to sing I'm white as snow. But I want everybody to celebrate. Let's just celebrate. That is such a good thing. It's such a good thing. We don't deserve it, but we're standing here.
The Jonas brother that didn't make it is has a weird career, if you ask me. Yeah, I don't think that he literally means that like God thinks everybody's white or that he makes everybody white, but that's my takeaway. In the eyes of Jesus, y'all white. But again, I feel like a pan out on the audience might have been interesting there. Could have been some hero panning out on the audience. Up next, here's a woman who is in an airport, and her first experience with an all-gender restroom, and it's a pretty weird video because like nothing's going on in this video. She's just wowing about it. Just wow, wow, wow. You'll see.
Okay, this is my first all-gender bathroom. 31 stalls available. Anybody can go anywhere. That's a man. Okay. This is happening. Have you ever been in an all-gender restroom? This your first one? This is my first one, especially in the airport.
Yeah.
I said, wait. What?
It's different.
What about you? All-gender. You ever been in an all-gender?
This is my first time. I was kind of thrown off.
You was kind of thrown off?
I'm like,
I don't know, but you was walking fast. You enjoyed it.
It's kind of cool though.
It is?
Either side.
Either side. Okay, thanks. Okay, ladies, it's happening. Did y'all know this was all gender?
Yeah. We're doing makeup in an all gender.
This is my first time. I'm like,
hey, I stopped. And
me too.
I was like, am I going the right?
No, I did like this. That's okay. I know that's a girl. That's a boy. And I'm okay with whatever, but you just threw this on us.
It's weird.
It's progressive here, though.
I know. Yeah.
And then you doing your makeup and a man in there pissing.
There's a man walking by it. So
and you cute though. You cute though. I'll tell you that.
Ones are the ones.
Yeah, but the doors are sealed completely, so that's a good thing. Since we got all gender, so can't nobody creep in and see that through them doors. The man went in that one. That's the thing. Oh, you said obviously a man went in that one. Oh, there go a man, y'all. Okay. Hey, sir, in the all gender bathroom.
She just wowed about it. Like, I've been in bathrooms like that. Nice restaurants in San Francisco started having those kinds of bathrooms, like pre-pandemic, where everybody shares the sinks and there's just little rooms you go into that have stalls. That's fine. It's probably a better system, actually, because people with penises can go to the bathroom more quickly, and so the fucking line moves more quickly. My God. All right, up next, we have a Shasta County resident in the chat this evening. This will be a face that's familiar to you. This is someone who we refer to as Sean Fucked. And he's talking about Christian nationalism here because, you know, that's just what these people talk about now. They're like fucking out and proud. But, you know, this is Sean Fucked.
It's all part of the king coming back. That's what we're practicing for. That's why hell hates it that we're worshiping at every capital across America. That's why we get called, well, you're a Christian nationalist. You want the kingdom to be the government. Yes. You want God to come and overtake the government. Yes. You want Christians to be the only ones that, yes, we do.
Well, that's stupid, though.
We wouldn't be a disciple of Jesus if we didn't believe that.
No, tons of people are Christians and do not believe any of this bullshit. There's plenty of them in my chat here.
We want God to be in control of everything. We want believers to be the ones writing the laws. Yes, guilty as charged. I mean, it's funny when I meet Christians where I'm like, I'm like, have you read the Great Commission? Like, this is actually what...
But render unto Caesar that is the Caesar's.
Guilty.
Yo, fucking the man himself said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. He said I think even Jesus Christ was to some extent for separation of church and state. I think that's that motherfucker who needs to pick up his own Bible. I'm not a religious person. It's pretty clear. But I think that motherfucker needs to pick up his own Bible because he don't know what's in it. Doesn't have any idea. Speaking of religious people who don't know what's in their own Bible, this is Fire by Night reject Robin Bullock. I'm pretty sure his hair is a wig. No shade on hair falling out. Mine's falling out, but just cop a hat or whatever. Like, you'll be fine. You don't need to put on a wig and pretend, well, that you're in the Fire by Night TV show from the 80s and 90s. Here's Robin Bullock. He's going to tell the joke. They only have one joke. He's going to tell it.
Do you realize that you can identify as a moose? You do know that, right? They couldn't argue with you now. I had a man tell me the other day, he said, I think I'm going to go and identify as a 65-year-old man so I can draw Medicaid. He said, I ought to fill out the thing, send it in, and when they turn me down, sue them because I said I identify with a 65-year-old man. Identify as a 65. They have to give it to you.
No, they don't.
You can identify as an Apache attack helicopter.
Oh, he told the joke.
Mate with it.
I'd fucking come on, man. Y'all need another joke. This one's worn out its welcome. Now I'm not even mad at it. I'm not even mad that you're like bigots when you tell this joke. I'm mad that you're just very uncreative. Just like you can't even come up with anything. I'm just mad for everyone else who's told a different joke. I make up jokes every night. Well, except Monday and Tuesday. We usually don't stream on Monday and Tuesday, but I'm still making up jokes, talking to my friends and stuff. They can't do it. They can't come up with any other jokes. Here's we call him DP around here. Because he has his logo is a DP on the bottom left, Dennis Prager. He's going to talk about family values and slavery.
It's a very distressing thing, what is being done here. The hatred of America and of capitalism is what animates the entire slave narrative.
Whoa, that's a pretty bold statement. The hatred of capitalism was what animates this narrative about slavery. Go on.
In your kids' college. Yes, Corey, it's glossed over that the U.S. ended slavery for the rest of the world. Well, Britain started it, and then we continued it, and that is correct. Yep. By the way, if you talk about Islamic slavery, which was considerably more barbaric, and believe me, there was barbarity in our slavery, but most slaves could actually have children, for example.
Well, yes, but the reason that they were allowed to have children is because they were making more slaves.
And on more than a few occasions, they were separated from their parents. Horrible. Truly horrible.
Yeah, that was the horrible thing, is that they got separated from their parents, not that they were involved in not that they were on the receiving end of fucking chattel slavery. They were taken away from their parents. Get the fuck out of here. Oh my God.
But the black slave population increased tremendously because they could have families in so many cases.
Whoa.
Under Islam, that was not possible. The men were castrated. And they weren't castrated with an anesthetic, shall we say. The agony is indescribable, and so many of them died just because of the barbarity of being castrated. The left hates America because they have nothing going on in their lives that gives them meaning. The inferior...
But he gets meaning from fucking being like, well, at least they let the slaves have kids. Kind of nice of them. Motherfucker.
Always hate the superior. The left is morally inferior to the United States of America and its founders and the Judeo-Christian system. The inferior morally hate the morally superior. The left has always been morally inferior from Lenin to today.
The left existed before Lenin, but he should have chose Stalin, honestly. That was a lot. There was a lot going on in there. It was a short clip and he said a lot. I'm just going to leave that one. I'm going to let that hang. There's not a whole lot we can really say about that. It is what it is. And we are where we are as a society. Dennis Prager is a very wealthy man who got wealthy by spewing hate and lies. Speaking of getting wealthy by spewing hate and lies, here's Candace Owens, and she's going to talk about the gay experience in the 90s. I'm going to have a little something to say about this because I came of age as a gay man in the 90s. So maybe she'll speak to me and it'll change my heart and it'll change my mind.
Yeah, so I'm not an ally to the gay community. I feel like I want to say that publicly.
Oh, well, thanks. I was under the mistaken impression that you were.
I feel like there's so many people that are tripping over themselves to be an ally. It's just like a weird American race right now. I love transgenderism. I love you, lesbian, gays. Look at sprinkles. I don't get it, and I want no part in it. And I was thinking about this because I had a discussion with my lesbian cousin. We're actually super close. Love her. We were both born in '89, and I'm going to tell you something about the 90s.
You didn't know shit about the 90s because you got out of the 90s at 11.
Growing up, gays and lesbians were just normal people. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm thinking back to Ellen DeGeneres, her famous cover when she came out and said, yes, I'm gay. Take a look at this cover. I want you to actually take a look at this, of what she's wearing here. It's outfit that I would wear today. She's just wearing what looks like to be a black sweater, some slacks. She's got some wonderful pair of shoes on. And that's it. Yep, I'm gay. And if you watched her show thereafter, gay wasn't her entire existence and identity. She wasn't throwing sprinkles and confetti and rainbows and acting like a toddler. Because they really like anything that a toddler would like, nor was she being perverse. She wasn't.
Why? Is she talking about like the adult baby fetish? Because I think most of the people that have the adult baby fetish would not identify as queer.
Strapping a dildo on herself and
we don't know what kind of sex she be having.
Demanding that you watch her tongue kiss her wife Portia for an entire month. No, she just happened to be gay. Same can be said for Melissa Etheridge. I mean, really, when I think of the 90s, I think of a time
Melissa Etheridge a turf now.
People happened to be gay or lesbian, and it wasn't an entire annoying existence that people had, an entire personality trait that they had to throw into your face constantly. And
so some of this is that people were like in the black community, they talk about code switching, and I think like a lot of gay people do it too, even now. There were situations I know in the 90s where I knew I could just kind of be out, like at a rave or a gay club or even just a dance club. It didn't really matter. And there were places where maybe I'd code switch a little bit. I'd be, at a dinner party for like my friend's parents and I don't really know them. I just happen to get invited or whatever. And we code switch a little bit. You're not like hiding who you are. And if somebody asks, you might say yes, but you're not acting like you are at the club or the rave. And everybody, gay, straight, black, white, we all do this. It's called going along to get along. And a lot more people had to go along to get along. And by that, we mean code switching and acting what we believed was straight. We had to do it. And that's what she's talking about. And as time goes on and more people are accepted, more queer people are being accepted in their communities, people have to do less of that. And I think that's what she's talking about. And I think it's better that we have to do less code switching. Up next, Tiny Dancer Ben Shapiro, going to talk about dresses, pants, and who should be allowed to wear dresses or pants in public. Great website. Oh, there it goes. Great website you got over there, Twitter.
Should wearing dresses and skirts be illegal for men in public? If so, should wearing pants for women be illegal in public? Well, pants not so much, because there is a female version of pants that is nearly indistinguishable in many cases from male pants.
Oh, we're going to start this one over. This is fucking stupid. Come on, Ben.
Should wearing dresses and skirts be illegal for men in public? If so, should wearing pants for women be illegal in public? Well, pants not so much, because there is a female version of pants that is nearly indistinguishable in many cases from male pants. But men wearing traditional female clothing in public, I think that there's a case that local communities should be able to stop that. Sure, I mean, we have local laws about being naked or indecent exposure, or at least we used to.
I don't even like the laws against being naked in public. You all right, Ben? Did Ben Shapiro break? Look, the timer keeps going. What is he doing?
Have I seen Kyle Dunnigan's Fresh Pres of DC, where you're featured as Biden's butler known as Beneford the Butler? I have not seen this, actually. And now I'm going to have to check it out. That sounds funny.
Oh, what the fuck? Yo. You know, there's a problem, too, because, like, what's the difference between a skirt and a kilt? A kilt has been traditionally associated with masculinity for Irish people. And I may be, like, I don't know that much about, like, Irish culture or whatever, and I may be butchering it in some way, but, like, are we just going to outlaw kilts, too? And what's the difference between a kilt and a skirt? They look awful close to the same, and a kilt's for a man and a skirt's for a woman. So, like, what the fuck's the difference? Like, who decides if it's a skirt or a kilt? If you have a green beer, is it a kilt now? Maybe you couldn't find a traditional kilt, so you just had to get, like, a skirt because you wanted to wear a kilt. Like, who fucking knows, man? You got to substitute goods sometimes. What he's talking about is, like, it's impossible in practice, and it would just be used to, like, fuck with people. It wouldn't be like... there's no way to, like, enforce that, anything like that, in such a way that you don't just end up fucking with people, right? Like Patty Kay from the Roughies will rock what some people might call a skirt. I think it's just tablecloth that he uses a safety pin on. Would that be illegal? Because it's not a skirt. I think it's a tablecloth. I literally think he used a tablecloth. Like, this is just impossible to fucking enforce. One more tiny dancer, Ben. He's already mad at the 4th Frozen movie that hasn't come out, and nobody even knows what's going to be. Nobody even knows what's in it yet.
Disney has been on the retreat socially since people decided they don't wish to invest in their product. We'll see if Disney continues to double down. And the great suspicion is that in Frozen 4, they'll make Elsa a lesbian. By the way, if they do that, it is the end of Disney as a company. Predict it. You can write it down. It is April 17th. If they do that in Frozen 4, they'll destroy Disney.
Oh shit! Did Frozen 4 come out?
Destroy it.
Is Elsa a lesbian? I hope Elsa's a lesbian. I'm not a big fan. First of all, I don't think they made Elsa a lesbian, but who the fuck cares if they make Elsa a lesbian? It's a fucking cartoon character. I don't give a shit if a cartoon character is a lesbian. I don't even watch Frozen. I'm not the target audience for Frozen, and neither is Ben. The target audience for Frozen is children, mostly little girls. So if the little girls like it, then Disney makes money on it. That's it. I don't know what these people, why was he even mad about a movie that didn't even come out yet? Frozen 4, the Marvel crossover. People in chat are funny. That's why I have a chat. They're funnier than I am. If you're on the pod and you're still listening to this, check out the live shows at twitch.tv/EchoPlexMedia. We got Matt Walsh here. He wants to raise your taxes.
But of course, much of the violence we see in places like Chicago is not racial. You know, the business owners being chased out of these cities are often not white. The victims of violence in these cities are most often not white. So this is a far-reaching problem that would still exist, even if white people hadn't been selected as the assigned villain group in modern America. Situation would be a little bit better in these cities, most likely, if that hadn't happened. But that alone would not solve the problem. If you want to solve the problem, there are two basic solutions. And no solution that excludes these 2 points can ever hope to solve anything. Number one, you have to round up the criminals and throw them in prison. And I know this is not exactly a mind-blowing insight, or at least it shouldn't be. But the only way to restore order is to impose severe penalties on those causing the disorder. That's the only way through it. If there isn't enough room in the prisons, then build new ones, okay? Build 50 new prisons if you have to. And if you don't have the money for it, then raise the taxes in these cities. They're raising taxes all the time anyway. Democrats love raising taxes, so raise them again. So that the community can pay for prisons to put all their violent scumbags into. You cannot have a civilized society if you don't have a reliable means of segregating those people who are enemies of civilized society. And violent criminals are enemies of civilized society. And you especially cannot have a civilized society without justice. You know, this is the higher calling of what we call the criminal justice system. You notice we don't call it the criminal segregation system or the criminal rehabilitation system. We don't call it that traditionally because its primary purpose is supposed to be justice, which involves the punishment of wrongdoing. We must balance out the scales by imposing penalties on criminals that are commensurate with the severity of the crimes they have committed. Again, not a mind-blowing concept, or it shouldn't be.
One glaring issue with what he said there, he's like, oh, you know, the people in the cities, they're all the victims of these crimes. So what we should do is raise their taxes specifically. So at the beginning, he was like, oh, woe is the good people of the city. And then by the end, he was like, well, we should just raise taxes in the cities because the Democrats love raising taxes. So they should raise the taxes on the people who aren't committing the crimes, who I just said that I feel sorry for or whatever. Like, I don't think taxation is punishment, but in the worldview of the people that are watching him, taxation is generally viewed as a punishment or punitive. And so he, like, based on his own worldview, he wants to punish the people who live in the cities who aren't committing the crimes by taxing them to build more fucking prisons. It just seems like much of what these people say, it seems to not make a whole lot of sense, if you could imagine that. Now we're going to find out how much Matt Walsh claims he was making every month on YouTube.
Media Matters took the time to review dozens of videos from back 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago, publishing their findings under a headline promising to reveal my sordid past. Now, these institutional efforts to silence me and us have continued all the way up to this week. So in fact, less than a day before I was hacked, we received word from YouTube that I had committed a series of alleged violations of their terms of service and also of their ad partnership guidelines, which will now lead to my demonetization and potentially being banished forever from the platform. Now, YouTube's ploy, what we have to understand about big tech, their ploy is to be intentionally vague about their guidelines. They won't tell you. They'll tell you you violated something, but they won't tell you exactly what it was or how that thing violates the guideline, because they want to afford themselves the latitude to demonetize and deplatform you whenever they feel like it. And that's really what's going on here. Of course, they just selected me and they said, well, it's your turn and we're going to look for a reason. In fact, they did tell us, though, they cited 3. There were a number of violations they claimed. They'd only tell us about 3 of them. All 3 of them, coincidentally, had to do with Dylan Mulvaney. Yeah. Now, I don't know, just coincidentally, YouTube decided you're not allowed to say anything about Dylan Mulvaney. YouTube has decided that I'm not allowed to use biologically accurate language when discussing Dylan, or presumably any other trans-identified person. And for what it's worth, it doesn't seem that other channels are being held to this standard right now. So we were told by sources at YouTube that a decision to target our channel had come from the highest levels of the company. And they're looking for something, a reason to take us out. Now, of course, there is a way out of this jam. You know, the big tech, they're very generous and they'll give you a potential off-ramp. So if I simply respect the preferred pronouns and I stop accurately gendering people, then I can likely continue to do my show on the platform. I can get it remonetized after, a short probationary period. And I can continue making over $100,000 a month on YouTube ads.
He was making $100,000 a month. His channel was making $100,000 a month on YouTube ads. So, I mean, that's a drop in the bucket for YouTube. But if they start enforcing this, that means they're going to lose ad revenue. It's not in their interest, actually, to demonetize a bunch of popular channels. So my guess is that the advertisers started leaning on YouTube. Like Media Matters might have published something about it or whatever. Maybe the advertisers saw it, but maybe the advertisers, YouTube's real customers, are the ones who started leaning on YouTube to be like, hey, I don't want my ads in front of this shit, and I will pull my ad campaign. And if it's just me running an ad about my show, they don't care. But what if it's some big firm on Madison Avenue What if they have clients like Levi Strauss, Jeep, Ford Motor Company, Whole Foods even? If their clients are like Amazon, then maybe YouTube listens because that's YouTube's boss. That's where the money comes from. A lot of big advertising firms. And so, sorry, Matt, you may think you're popular and important, but I think maybe one ad firm on Madison Avenue could get your channel pulled if they're like, oh, you have to pull this channel or we're just going to pull all of our advertising. Sorry, we can take our fucking, $50 million advertising budget elsewhere. Run magazine ads. So yeah, he just doesn't understand the power structure and who's in charge here. When the when the platform is, supported by ads, in the end, the big ad company is the one that make the call. And I think that's probably what happened here. So here's Matt Taibbi on the Jimmy Dore show. But it's the B team on the Jimmy Dore show. It's this I forget this guy's name. I think he blocked me. That's why. You'll recognize him. I recognize him too. He's one of these like LaRoucheite type leftists. Caleb Maupin. Here's Matt Taibbi talking to Caleb Maupin about Elon Musk.
I know that recently it's been reported, and you've talked about this, that you and Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter, had a rift. He became convinced for some odd reason that Substack, which you write for, is a threat to Twitter. And that led to basically a dispute between you. As I understand, he wanted you to leave Substack to join Twitter, and you refused to do. And by the way, the people who accuse you of doing Elon Musk bidding have been conspicuously silent on that you refused Elon Musk's demands there. But
no, Elon Musk used Matt Taibbi for what he was useful for and then kicked him to the fucking curb because that's how Elon Musk do.
What does this mean for the Twitter files?
Matt Taibbi's an idiot if he didn't think that was going to happen.
Any sense of what's coming next?
Well, we still have a lot of stuff. I mean, we have a, I wouldn't say a lifetime, but we've got a lot of material. So we're going to report all that out as much as we can. I'm sad about it. Yeah, I like Elon. I think he did a really
Elon, please be my friend again.
Thing. I think there's a misunderstanding here, and it's unfortunate. I hope he continues it with other reporters. You'd be a great choice, if he decided to go that way. But yeah, no, it's unfortunate. He's indicated that he doesn't really want. He thinks that all good things will really have to come to an end. He's made these sort of elliptical comments about it. It's too bad. Just one last thing about that. This whole business about me maybe going to Twitter or using the new subscription service that they have, and I was trying to protect Elon actually in that situation.
Like the whole time you were doing his bidding, yeah.
My understanding of the whole thing, and I was trying to communicate this to him, is that the Twitter files wouldn't be taken seriously if people saw that there was any kind of financial, even theoretical financial relationship between the two of us. And this had to be public, that there was no kind of connection. And he would be getting lots of negative PR if I had done that move. He would never hear the end of it. But he didn't see it that way, which is unfortunate. So, but it was a good thing while it lasted, and I think we learned a lot of good stuff.
Except that your reporting was flawed, and you took you took Elon Musk. Like he's like, here, have some information, and you're like, great, not going to fact check any of this, just going to run with it. I'd be willing to bet Taibbi is also contractually obligated to Substack in some way because he was one of the journalists that they gave a bunch of seed money to. So I bet he can't leave, which he should have just said. But then he would, he would have to admit that that's what's going on. So here's a person that came to our attention maybe a month and a half ago, and I had to bleep this out. This is Anna Perez. Love it. Just love it when I hear something on a clip I'm going to use that I have to bleep out. Anna Perez is one of the few people that I have to listen to the clip before I run it because, here, maybe I'll do a demonstration.
There's nothing worse than like conservatives that are fake conservatives, and you know they're fake conservatives. A good test for me is I start using words that like are like really push the envelope. Like, you know, I'll say things, I'll throw the word fat around, you know, things of that nature, and see how they react. If it's a rhino you're dealing with, they'll usually like wince almost. If it's a not rhino, he or she will laugh and be like, and you know, it'll add to the humor, you know, it'll add to the entertainment quality of the joke. That's a good test right there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when that's that's the punchline. Just that's the punchline, everybody. That's not a punchline. Like, a joke is supposed to be funny. It isn't supposed to just be like, oh, that person's different than us. Ha 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 ha. I'm going to use a slur about them. That's like really bad comedy, like incredibly bad comedy. It is such bad comedy that Andrew Clay made a career out of like making fun of the kind of person who would do that kind of comedy. And then people were so stupid they didn't know what Andrew Clay was doing. And then one time, eventually, he broke character on a show and was like, no. He's like, I'm doing a bit. This is a guy on the Jersey Shore that everybody hates. Like, it's such stupid comedy to just like make a slur or implications of a slur or whatever be the punchline of your joke. Because what you're doing isn't really telling a joke anymore. You're just abusing people and bullying them from a stage. And, you know, comedians are free to do that, but it, you know, doesn't mean I got to laugh. So, and it's interesting that like she's mad at like regular, like because there are like conservatives who aren't openly bigoted, right? And she's mad at them. They're like, all right, that's a bit, okay. Oh, whoa, let's not do that. Even if they're just trying to save face or do it for decorum's sake, whatever it is, it like fucking brings down the temperature of the conversation a little bit. And she's mad as fuck about that. I wonder if she ever drops the N-word or if it's just gay people she goes after. Who knows? We got two more. We're not going to quite do 2 hours, I don't think, on the pod this week, but we got two more real good ones. We're going to first check in on friends of the Intellectual Dollar Tree, Brett Weinstein and Heather Hying.
Since Omicron, have you seen any new COVID variants? Why? Either way.
Yeah, it's a great question. The cynical part of me thinks, well, the Omicron rollout didn't go as planned, and so they're on to other things.
The Omicron rollout? There have been other variants. We're just not naming them in the same way. Now we're using we're using like a different naming scheme.
In the newly EU8 or whatever, the new shots are half Omicron, half original. And like why they're including any original is its own version of stupidity. But Omicron that was into 2021, was it? Like beginning of 2022? Like, what? Come on. What is happening?
I mean, the basics, I would argue, is that the variants were actually driven by the vaccine campaign.
But there's no evidence for that.
So you might well expect that the evolution was happening faster during active, sudden onset of mass vaccination.
Not only active, but to the if their freaking pseudo vaccine worked, then they should have updated it with each variant. They didn't, and it is possible that the reason they didn't was because they did not want to generate a detectable pattern where they were causing the variants, and that could
wait, what? No.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, there's a bivalent fucking, what the fuck's the new? It's like the bivalent booster that everybody got. It would be the fourth shot that most people got. And it was different than the first shot, and the second shot was different than the third shot.
So there's always been a question about what Omicron is and where it came from. And I suppose there's also a question about what the relationship is between what's in their new bivalent whiz-bang injecto stuff and Omicron. But the question is, look, there's all this proprietary stuff we're not allowed to know. And there's an obvious evolutionary question about the relationship between the proprietary stuff and...
Trust us.
Right.
Well, boy, am I glad that I don't watch hours and hours and hours of their show on stream anymore. During the height of the pandemic, we were watching, 10 hours of them a week, easy. So I'm not super good on this stuff, but I do know there's new variants coming out. They're just not using the same naming scheme. Somebody in the chat mentioned that the WHO explained that they're using like flu instead of, they would call it like a bird flu or whatever. They would call it like H1N1. That's the new naming scheme. They're just using like the letters and numbers, the alphanumeric pattern or whatever. And that's the new way that they're identifying different strains of the virus. So it doesn't roll off the tongue as well, and people might not know it as well. But also, not for nothing, even though like there's a lot of anti-vaxxers in the United States, most people got vaccinated. And so the new variants aren't going to spread as quickly, even if the old vaccines aren't perfect protection from the new variants. They're certainly better than nothing. And I think these people are just wrong, and they're never going to change their mind, even if they know they're wrong, because they made so much goddamn money during the pandemic spreading this misinformation. Misinformation is a cash fucking cow, because a lot of people, especially when there's like a chaotic or like terrifying event, they want somebody who knows the answer to give them the answer. They don't want somebody like me who's like, I don't know, we're going to have to kind of trust the experts and like update our own opinions as the experts update theirs. That's not really very comforting. But, oh, Brett and Heather know everything because they're biologists and they have the answer now and it's all a fucking conspiracy. Well, that's more comforting, at least to people who think that they're entitled to the answer, the 100% answer. We don't get a 100% answer about a whole mess of stuff in our society. We accept it most of the time. But I guess with the fucking virus, we don't. But again, most people got vaccinated, so that's good. Most people got at least the 2. The boosters were a little harder to sell, but also I don't think the push for the boosters was as strong. Now, one more clip. We got a new bell curve just dropped, everybody. This is, I don't even know who the fuck these people are. I don't care. I don't care who these people are. It's just some fucking race and IQ bullshit.
Actually, that undermines the idea of racial differences, because I have ancestors going back thousands and thousands of generations who come from East Africa, West Asia, and then go into Europe. And actually, that to me underscores a fundamental similarity with people who don't necessarily today look like me, white, brown, or black. So I would say actually the complete opposite conclusion can be born out of that.
I mean, I'm not turning this into a conversation around racial differences, because as I argue in the book, in the final chapter, if you want to look at disparities between different groups in the UK today, you cannot simply look at those through the prism of racism. There are a whole host of other factors.
Also, I know, multiple social factors.
Which is exactly what I was saying in that interview, which is if you look at an area like health, it is going to be unsustainable, as we discussed during the COVID pandemic, as we discuss often in terms of how people are treated in the NHS and so on, to look at all of these different outcomes and say, well, that's because of your fixed group identity. It's going to become unsustainable.
So you don't think that educational attainment is going to be contingent on genetics then? You don't think that?
I've not mentioned education.
You don't think that?
I've not mentioned education at all.
You don't think that?
I've not mentioned education at all.
He's like, listen, the guy's like, you don't think that. He's like, I haven't mentioned it. The guy's like, you don't think that. Fucking good interviewer.
You said you don't think
no,
that.
because you're trying to turn this into a conversation about educational attainment.
That's how
and
people read it,
performance.
so I'm asking.
Well, if they read it, then they weren't listening to what I was saying, because I never mentioned education at all. What I was mentioning was health. This conversation around...
Motherfucker refused to answer the question. He couldn't just say, no, I don't believe that. No, I don't think that educational attainment is purely or mostly genetic. He couldn't just say that. The interviewer gave him the out and he wouldn't do it. You know why? This dude's a bell curve ass motherfucker. This is one of the ones coming up for the intellectual Dollar Tree. I forget this guy's name. He was on trigonometry and he said a whole bunch of racist ass shit on trigonometry, as you do. From what I understand, people are saying, I haven't watched it yet, because if we run pieces of content for the intellectual Dollar Tree, I don't watch it beforehand. So a new bell curve just dropped. Can't wait to watch that. It's going to be terrible. But just answer the question, motherfucker. Like, especially when the interviewer gives you the out, just answer the question, take the out, even if you don't believe it, because otherwise people are going to think you're a racist, for whatever fucking reason. My God. Or just say, yes, I do think it's genetic, but I don't think it maps onto race so much. Or I don't think it maps onto race at all. But I think that a large portion of your academic achievement does have to do with your genes. I don't know. Fucking say something. Don't just be like, well, I didn't talk about that. I didn't say that. He's like, I'm asking. Or just be like, I'm not answering your question. And then you go, okay, well, I'm going to end this interview if you're not going to answer my question. That dude's no, I don't use that word. Dude's a coward. Dude is a coward. Just answer the fucking question, motherfucker. And with that, we're going to end the podcast on a high note, of course. Thanks everybody for hanging out in the chat this week. Week after week now, this is during the podcast part of the show. This is the most popular podcast recording on the channel. Used to be the Intellectual Dollar Tree, but I think people are fucking infuriated by that shit at this point. So I'm glad everybody's tuning in for the Sunday show. Make sure you check out all of our other shows. If you're listening on the pod, we also have Down Ballot. Local Love is back, though it's in a different format. We don't do that live anymore. We got the Intellectual Dollar Tree. Do I have another podcast? I don't think so. Do I have? Anyway, whatever. You can check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. We're live Wednesday through Sunday. Shows start between 7 and 9 p.m. Pacific. And you can support us at patreon.com/Echoplex, or if you want to support us in a very similar way to Patreon, but I think is much cooler, you can go to eplex.store. There's membership options there. If you're a Twitch sub, you get a discount on that membership option. And if you're a member over at eplex.store, you get a discount on any of our swag in the swag shop, which is applied on top of any coupon code you may find anywhere else. So you could save some money on a rad fucking shirt with a picture of Jordan Peterson on it or whatever. Thanks everybody again. We'll be back for Red Light. Live viewers, live listeners, stay put. I just got to change the color of the lights, get up, walk around a minute. I've been sitting for a while, and change the content of my beverage. We'll be back with some terrifying fucking stuff.
Try and be If you like what we're doing at Echoplex and aren't into Twitch, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/Echoplex. For $5, you can get every show from beginning to end sent to you as an MP3, even the stuff we bleep out because it's too spicy for Twitch. Echoplex would not be where we are today if it wasn't for the community support we receive. Find out all the ways you can support the show at echoplexmedia.com/support.